Hey everybody, how you doing? Going live today. Just Mike on this one. There's something I wanted to talk about. Drives me crazy, and you've probably seen this. Social media influencers who don't disclose relationships with their brands. And you know that they're out there and it's rampant. And in the AI world, it's everywhere. But we're seeing it more. There was a video game recently. People weren't disclosing. So I wanted to go through something here. And there's a disclosures guide from the FTC. And they are the guidance for this. They make the rules, the laws actually, on what is supposed to happen. So here, I'm going to take everyone through this. I want you guys to see this stuff because it is very important to me anyway, because it just drives me insane again. I hate seeing it when people are shilling for products and they don't disclose that they've got a relationship, or they don't disclose properly because some are trying to or doing the bare minimum. And as you see, if we go through this guide here, they're not doing it the way they're supposed to do it. So this is from the FTC. You can find this guide. It's at ftc.gov, Disclosures 101 for social media. It gives the basic guidelines in plain language too. It's not that you have to be a lawyer even to understand it. So let's go through this. Nobody's watching, I know, but hopefully you'll watch the clips. So this is for influencers. And this is the very beginning here. And this is meant to be talking to the influencers. So if you do, you need to comply with the law. It's a law. It's not just guidelines or suggestions. It's what they are supposed to do. And at the bottom, you'll see here, as an influencer, it's your responsibility to make these disclosures and to be familiar with the endorsement guides. That's why the brands don't care if they do it or not, because the FTC says it's, on the influencer to make the disclosure. So the brands know this. The brands have the attorneys. These influencers who are mostly young folks with no money, they're going to do whatever they're told because they didn't get into the influencer game to not get brand deals. That's why they're doing it. They want to get these brand deals, get free products, get paid, get trips, all that stuff. That's why they started making content. So they're going to do whatever they're told. And that's the problem with the influencers. You can't trust then their reviews, especially if they don't disclose it. You're following creators out there. Tech is big for this too. So I do videography and stuff. So you'll see folks talking about camera gear and equipment or streaming gear, gaming. Hey, are you being paid to talk about this stuff? And they don't really disclose it. Some do, some don't. And I see it all over the place. It has exploded recently with AI because you are seeing this everywhere. There is a massive undisclosed influencer campaign going on in a world of AI, and I am convinced of it. I don't have direct proof other than just watching the patterns of things that are happening. Recently, Google just made some big announcements right in the last couple of days. Immediately, all of the AI creators were out with very polished videos, like way too quickly. It was coordinated, obviously. And if you're on TikTok and you follow that stuff and then you see one after the other, and it's not like they just threw something together to immediately react and respond. They were produced videos. They take some time to make. Very clearly, it was a coordinated campaign, especially since they all came out at the same time. It's not like people were leaking stuff from the event. They were doing it together for Google and for this, their big AI announcements that I won't go through, right? But it was clearly a coordinated campaign. Nobody's disclosing anything. I saw one creator who was at the event and he was doing the selfie thing, showing the stage, talking, and then himself. Like, okay, how did you get there? Did they bring you in? They had to invite you. I'm sure that audience is just full of influencers doing exactly what they wanted to have happen here. Did you buy your ticket? Right? And we'll go through some more of the rules here, but this is part of the problem. The brands know it's on the influencer. So that's why they don't force disclosures. And again, have you ever seen the FTC crack down on this? Nothing is happening. So that's why it's just gotten out of control, because the FTC just doesn't care. And why is it a problem? It's a problem for me because consumers need to know this. I think it's only fair for consumers to know when there are issues. If you're watching somebody and they're recommending a product, you need to know if they were paid by that company, because it should, influence your view of that review, right? You should be able to have the opportunity to take that into account as a consumer. And you can still make your own decisions, but at least you're making the decision with the full knowledge that, hey, this person recommending it was paid to do this. So, take it with a grain of salt. All right, here we go as we get further in. Here is when to disclose. And I saw a big creator make this mistake because he said that these gaming folks don't have to disclose it if they weren't paid. And that is not true. You can see here, it's disclose when you have a financial, employment, personal, or family relationship with a brand. Financial relationships aren't limited to money. Disclose the relationship if you got anything of value to mention a product. Anything of value. If a brand gives you a free or discounted products or other perks, and then you mention one of its products, make a disclosure, even if you weren't asked to mention that product. They gave you something else, but said, talk about this one. Oh, I didn't get this one for free, so I'm okay to disclose. No, you got anything for free. And it's the trips too, because there are big influencer agencies who manage influencers out there. They do this stuff. They get trips. And, the brands will put showcases together where they bring influencers to LA or New York, wherever, one of those two cool guy cities where these agencies exist. They're going to fly them out and say, hey, we would love you to have a relationship with this brand. You got flown out to LA and put up in a hotel and given this fancy presentation. You have to disclose that. And they're not. They're not. You don't see it. All right. If a brand gives you, right? Oh, we did that one. Don't assume your followers already know about your relationship, of course, and make disclosures, even if you think evaluations are unbiased. So even if you're like, it's an okay product, or you're like, no, I keep it real, you still have to make the disclosure. It's not up to you to decide when the consumer gets to know that you have some kind of relationship with this product. The consumers have the right to know. And this is what upsets me so much, is that it's only consumers being taken advantage of. So that's why nobody cares. All right. Keep in mind that tags, likes, pins, and similar ways of showing you like a brand or product are endorsements. So you tag a brand, you like them, you put a hashtag in for them. Those are endorsements. You don't have to also make a video or an image saying, I love X product. These are also endorsements. Ask yourself, if you're a regular person watching this and you've seen influencer videos, how often have you seen people making these disclosures? I want you to go through this stuff yourself on your own too, and look for this and see what people are supposed to be doing. We have to start holding influencers accountable, everybody. You have to start calling them out, because this is a problem. It's everywhere. And unless we complain about it, no one is going to do anything. All right, if you're posting from abroad, U.S. law applies if reasonably foreseeable that the post will affect U.S. consumers. Okay, TikTok, huge, right? We have Chinese companies on TikTok constantly with their influencers. That's how they sell in the U.S. market. They don't actually advertise themselves. They will hire influencers to shill their products for them, and they don't disclose that relationship. They'll put a shop link or something, right? And then just that little thing on the bottom that says creator earns commission. And I'll show you why that's wrong too here in a bit. But if you are overseas, you are not exempt from this, especially knowing that everybody's goal overseas is to get to the US market. That's what you're trying to do. That's what you want. You want the US market. So if you're advertising and showing off to US consumers, and that's going to happen on social media, the law applies to you. And it doesn't matter what country you're in. Well, it does, because some countries obviously don't have any laws about this, and they don't care. They don't care if you're going to screw American consumers. But Canada, their guidelines on this, nearly the same. I think there's some minor differences. I looked, but US and Canada, pretty similar on what these guidelines are. All right. And I'm not an attorney, so I'm not making these as legal claims, but I want you to read these and check these things out too. I'm putting this out because I want people to understand how influencers are screwing you out there by not disclosing this stuff. It's dishonest, and I cannot stand it, because people are making purchase decisions based on these people that you trust for some reason. I think as a society, we deserve the big giant rock for ever making influencers a thing anyway, but fine. If you have people that you like and you want to buy things that they recommend, you have the right to know when they've been paid to recommend them to you. You have the right to know that. It's dishonest of them to take advantage of you, the fans, and not tell them. That's what drives me crazy. All right, how to disclose. So these are important because you need to look at this because this is what you don't see when you're watching people doing things and are not disclosing. Place it so it's hard to miss. Nope, that's not happening. Disclosures are likely to be missed if they appear only on an About Me or a profile page, at the end of posts or videos, or anywhere that requires a person to click more. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever had to click more to see all the hashtags where they're burying this stuff in, right? It's not obvious and hard to miss. It's always in the more, right? And if your endorsement is a picture on a platform like Snapchat or Instagram, you have to superimpose the disclosure over the picture. This goes back to the days too when we used to have blogs, and I used to have a big blog and I would get some stuff too. You had to disclose right at the beginning in writing. You have to make the disclosure in the format of the material that you're putting out. So if you have a written post on a blog, you have to put it out in writing here. And we would always disclose if this was a paid post right at the very top, right at the beginning. Can't miss it. It's the first thing you're reading. This was a paid endorsement post. If you do it in video, you're supposed to actually say it in the video too. You have to make the claim. If you have it on an image, it has to be on the image, not buried in hashtags. Ask yourself again, do you see this stuff happening? You know that you don't. All right. And here's the video rules. If making an endorsement in a video, the disclosure should be in the video and not just in the description uploaded with the video. Viewers are more likely to notice disclosures made in both audio and video. Some viewers may watch without sound and others may not notice superimposed words. So you have to say it too. You have to put it in multiple places. Again, the entire point of the disclosure is that it is hard to miss. You cannot try to sneak something in or be tricky about it. It is supposed to be hard to miss and very obvious that what you are doing is a paid endorsement content. It's supposed to be obvious. All right, and if you're making an endorsement on a live stream, oh my gosh, Gary Vee says TikTok live shop's supposed to be the place, right? Are people talking about this? The disclosure should be repeated periodically so viewers who only see part of the stream will get the disclosure. Have you ever seen that? Have you watched a live where someone's talking about a product? Have you ever seen that? Ask yourself again, do you see this happening? No, you don't. All right, here's some examples. Use simple and clear language. Thanks Acme brand for the free product. It's an Acme partner and hashtag ad. Use simple and clear language. Simple explanations like thanks to Acme brand for the free product are often enough if placed in a way that it's hard to miss. So are terms like advertisement, ad, and sponsored. On space-limited platforms like Twitter, the terms Acme partner or Acme ambassador, where Acme is the brand name, are also options. It's fine but not necessary to include a hashtag with the disclosure such as hashtag ad or hashtag sponsored. Don't use vague or confusing terms like hashtag SP or hashtag spawn or collab or standalone terms like thanks or ambassador. Stay away from other abbreviations and shorten when possible. The disclosure should be in the same language as the endorsement itself. So that's what I'm saying. Don't assume that the platform's disclosure tool is good enough, but consider using it in addition to your own good disclosure. So TikTok, it has that little tag at the bottom that says, creator earns commission or sponsored, whatever, right? There's just that little tag. That is not enough. They have to say it. And that is where most of them are trying to get away with it. Just that tiny little thing. And TikTok and Instagram, they all have a vested interest in these things, especially TikTok and the TikTok shop, because they get 7% of everything sold through there. So they not really concerned if the consumer knows the full truth of who is talking to them about products. They're not in the business of making sure that people have the full information that they need to make an informed decision. And that's what this is about. I'm not saying don't buy from influencers, but you have the right to know when they've been paid for this, right? You see how much this drives me crazy. All right, what else should you know? You can't talk about your experience with a product you haven't tried. Shocking, but of course that happens. If you're paid to talk about a product and thought it was terrible, you can't say it's terrific. Now you can't. I don't know how anyone is going to enforce that one. You know, you remember in the movie Forrest Gump, Forrest says, "Oh, Mama said it's okay to tell a little white lie. I didn't really like your ping pong paddles, but, the check cleared." I don't know how they enforce that one, but in theory, they can't do that, right? And you make up claims about a product that would require proof the advertiser doesn't have, such as scientific proof that a product can treat a health condition. So all of the folks out there talking about supplements, we see this on, oh my gosh, on TikTok and Instagram, all those sad posts about like, oh, what I wish I knew, before my dog got sick or, before my dad had cancer. And then you scroll through and it gets to the end and it's a shill thing for some stupid supplement. You can't make health claims that you can't actually back up with science. You can't do this in any advertising, but people use influencers to push those products because, again, the FTC is not going after anybody. The FTC is not cracking down on this because it's, again, these young influencers who don't have any money. If a brand were to do this, FTC might be more interested because there's money and there's people to go after and there's people to hold accountable. But it's only, again, the consumers who are getting screwed, so nobody cares. All right. And so here you go. FTC.gov/influencers. That's where you can find more information. This stuff is important, everybody. And it matters because you have the right to know this stuff. We all, as consumers, have the right to know. We have the right to know when someone has been shilling for a product for us. You have the right to know that. And it doesn't mean you're not going to buy it. It doesn't mean the product isn't good. But you should be able to take that into account and assume it. And right now, I would just assume if anyone's talking about a product, the FTC and the guides here, if you go back and look through the guide, it says if you weren't paid or anything and you're talking about a product, you don't have to disclose that you weren't paid. I think everybody should. And sometimes my partner and I, Nada, when we're on here, we might mention a product or a tool. We will be quick to say, and they don't pay us, because trust me, nobody pays us anything. But I think people should always make a disclosure one way or another. You were paid, you were not paid. You should be declarative about it so people know. And they can then be held accountable. Did you come out and actually say you weren't paid? And then you were? Well, you're lying now, and now there's something really to hold you accountable for. Rather than what you know is going to happen, they're all going to claim ignorance. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, I was dealing with the brand attorney told me I didn't have to. That I was okay. And again, influencers don't have attorneys to talk to unless they're one of the big mega ones. Maybe they have people to clear things through, but most influencers don't. They got into the game to get free product. And the first time that happens, they're going to be thrilled and they're going to do whatever that brand tells them. And they're all going to do whatever the brands tell them to do because they want to keep getting more influencer deals. They're not going to get free product from people if they're going to come out and slam a product and talk about how terrible it is. What'll happen is they just won't do the content. If they actually hate a product and don't like it, they're likely to not do a review. Rare for you to see an influencer out there actually say, this thing is terrible. I didn't like it. It was horrible. It's rare. What they'll more likely do is just not do content then, because they don't want to go public with things that are negative for a brand, because even if that product is terrible, every other brand is out there watching that thinking, well, we can't trust them. So the brands aren't going to go to those people. And remember, influencers don't get into this game to not get free product and brand deals. That's 100% of what they're doing. And they have to play the game. And you as a consumer have a right to know that they are in the game and they are playing it. And again, it doesn't mean you're not going to buy the product from people, but you have the right to know so that you're making a fully informed decision. And that's what drives me crazy. They're all lying to us. You need to know these things and start calling creators out. I do it when I see it. I'm like, oh, this is paid. Were you paid for this? Make them declare it because they're not doing the right things in their declarations here. None of it's right. And TikTok, Instagram, none of the platforms care because they all have a vested interest in this stuff continuing. Until the FTC actually steps in and comes after somebody, which they are unlikely to, I doubt they ever will, then this is just going to keep continuing unless you, the consumer, stand up. This should piss you off as much as it pisses me off. I hope it does. If you have any questions about this, reach out. I've done many videos about this. It drives me insane. All right. But go ahead. Ask questions if you want. But please, moving forward, ask these influencers. Hold these people accountable. They're making money off of you. They live influencer lifestyles. You see these folks who are so out of touch now. Some of these folks, James Charles, you've seen that guy? He got to live that life because he had people following him and then brands were paying him. That's because of you, the consumer. This should piss you off what they're doing. It should make you so angry as I am about it, because I hate people being taken advantage of by these brands. Hold people accountable. They're responsible for it. They're adults. They should know better. All right. See y'all later. That's the end of my rant. Bye.